Oliver Strauss. I am a student at Iowa State. I'm studying computer science, and I made this game here to kind of dip my toes in game development and kind of learn just how to develop games. Kind of just I wanted to figure out how engines work. They were always kind of a mystery to me, so I built this over winter break, and I'm still continually adding to it, fixing bugs, adding features, of course. It's kind of in beta right now. As you can see, there are some placeholder assets like these player icons here, and this shark is not what the final one will look like. So the name is Pool Shark. It's kind of my take on pool. Um, as you can see, it's kind of set up like a regular rack of pool, except we have the shark in the background. We have some unique balls. So I'll kind of show you if when we hit it off. Um, so it is currently just a break off. I made one of each, so it's going to switch over to my turn or the other person's turn. And then I can kind of choose what to do as player two. I am red, so I'm going to try to shoot at red here. Let's go for this one. And I missed, but you can kind of see how it works. So I missed, so now it'll switch over to player one's turn, of course. As you can see, uh, one of the main unique elements is this pufferfish. So the pufferfish is the equivalent of the 8 ball in this game. You're attempting to make all of the other balls, and then you go for the pufferfish to win the game. But the thing is, if it collides with other balls, it will expand. And if it expands, it won't be able to go in a pocket. So it adds some tactics to the game where you need to intentionally avoid the 8 ball when it's time to go for it, or the pufferfish. Um, so another element that's unique to our game is this bait ball. So the bait ball kind of works as an activation to the shark. So you can see the shark right now. He's kind of just swimming around as an animation. Essentially, he's not doing much. But if we get this, okay, so I sunk the bait ball and it activated the shark, quote unquote. So this will activate the fin hitbox on the back of it. It's also a different spray, and it will pretty much act as like a blocker, kind of like an obstacle. So if I end up aiming directly at it, it'll kind of bounce off, as you see. So it adds more kind of dynamic elements to the game to make it more interesting. And because I missed again, I'll go to player two's turn. So you just take turns shooting, taking off the 4, and then you're going to go for the puffer fish when it's time to win the game. So if we go into the code a bit, I learned pretty much all of this by myself. Just reading a lot of documentation helped me a lot. YouTube tutorials, things like that, and then just kind of a lot of patience, honestly. So we have some of the assets here you can kind of see. We have player one icon and player two icon, of course. These are in the GUI folder. We have what I call the player ball wells. So that is the places that the balls go when they're potted, kind of to display what's going on. And then we also have like the text display element here. And we can actually kind of like look at the code for text display um, here. So it's kind of just a simple dictionary setup to if something happens in the game in the main script, it'll tell this script essentially, hey, player one hit wrong ball. So then it displays that message. So if we go back to the here, so we have this table asset, which is actually made up of more assets if we actually step inside of it. So we have these cushions, of course. So the cushions are going to be the red boxes, and they are essentially just static objects that act as just they know to bounce balls off of them. That's about it. They don't really need anything else. They're kind of defined, around the table, of course, to make it look good. And then we have these pockets here, these blue guys, and that is a little more complicated. I have a script set up to send it to the main function to say, hey, a ball's entered this area. If so, do something. Depending on what kind of ball it is. It's just important that it's always looking for those, of course. And then also a part of table, we have the actual shark path defined. So there's just like a path follow kind of object, and it's defined around the area I drew inside of the actual table. And then if we go back to main, we also have the queue, of course. So the queue is not actually in a good location right now, the script will help put it in place and then also rotate depending on the player movement. The power slider, of course, which communicates to the cue to tell them how much force to put on. And then this guiding line, which is the white line that you saw it appear. And I use a raycast object to make sure that it doesn't overshoot the balls, or it kind of stays in the right collision area that I'd like it to look good. And then we also have, of course, the aiming ball, which is used for players to kind of help to know what they're going on. Um, and yeah, if we go into the main script here, you can kind of see what we're working with. This function potted ball is what we're talking about, where this is called every time the blue rectangle, the pockets get an object in it. So they come here, we get passed in as a body. So we were able to look at that and decide some certain things. So the main one that's obvious is like if it's a cue ball, I have functions and functionality set up to handle that as a scratch, and then it will do certain things like help. So this is like the text box, it'll display the text. It'll set cue ball potted to true, and then it will remove it and then place it back where it needs to go. And then you have, if the ball made is the bait ball, like I talked about, it's going to set this shark active equal to true. So that's going to set off the shark, so to say, like get that going. And then this else is for regular balls. We are checking which sprite it is to know which player it goes with, and then we are putting it in the right place. And these print statements are kind of debugging for me right now as placeholders. Also in here, things that are interesting is this on cue shoot. So this is happening every time the player presses space and the actual shooting is happening. All I'm doing is applying a central impulse, which is a function kind of built into the physics of this engine. And it's power is a vector of power and direction, which is getting translated into the actual movement that we like, essentially. So this is the process function. So this function is getting called every time a frame happens. It's very important, of course. I'm checking if the balls are, if someone has taken a shot, and if so, it depends on certain things because we hide the cue or the cue during the shots actually being in process and stuff like that, and we only update the guideline if the shot's not being taken. We also have these moving ball lists and stopped ball lists. That's important to display it. So it's essentially a list of objects that are holding all the balls that's been made and all the balls that haven't been made. And that's going to be dynamically changed as the game changes. Look up here where the actual initialization of this code is. So we have a lot of stuff going on up here, of course. Main ones here, we have the sprites being loaded so that we can assign the balls to the actual sprites that we like. Also, all the sprites are made by a friend who's an artist, of course. I'm very grateful for their help. I just essentially gave them dimensions, and they were able to design a whole asset pack, essentially, for me to load into here, which I think has turned out really well. I really like how the game looks and kind of the aesthetic. So off of new game, this is the very start. We have a function generate 9-ball rack, of course, so that's going to place the actual balls onto the table, which is very important. Puts the cue ball in place. This make rack ball position essentially is storing the positions of the original places of the ball, so we know that we essentially are looking to see if the player is broken or not. That's essentially what that function helps with. Show cue is pretty self-explanatory. It shows the cue actually being moved around. And then we have highlight player, which handles the functionality of knowing kind of which player is on and showing the user that, which is kind of displayed in here. But yeah, that is my game. I'm very happy with it, even though I'm still going to work on it, add some more functionality, work on a little bit more of the art, stuff like that. But thank you for listening and showing it off. Eventually, hopefully, it'll be online for you guys to play. That's kind of the end goal and dream of this project. So.